Hi guys, I'm going to just talk you through this worksheet and show you exactly what to do in case you're not sure. There are some instructions down this side which should remind you, but if we look first of all at the image is a seahorse and over the top of it there is a grid. The grid is labelled A, B, C along the bottom and 1 to 5 along the vertical axis. If we call this the x-axis and this the y-axis, it corresponds to what you'd know from maths or other subjects, so it might help you. Now if I look along the axis that is between box A2 and A3 here, if I said that is 2/3 of the way along the x-axis, you can see what I've done. I've previously marked halfway. I've just checked it is about 2/3. So across onto my new grid now, I might put a halfway marker, and looking back across I might decide that point is about there. Now I'm just going to go for another point, so I'm going to find somewhere that's intersecting a line. That's quite important, the first of all intersect lines. I'd say going back across there it's maybe about 4 millimeters, 3 or 4 millimeters. So I might put a point there. Now the line between here and here, between those 2 points, is not a straight line. If I draw that line there, you can see it's not a straight line. It comes out to about here, so I'm making a point about where I think it comes to, roughly there. It then continues to go not vertically up, let's look directly in front of it. It's not vertically up, it's just going slightly off that vertical line, about 1/3 of the way up the box, and then it comes in and across. So you see how I'm beginning to plot a shape. I'm doing this quite lightly. It is my working out, so I am not pressing very hard. I'm going to go in the box up here now. I'm going to go and have a look at that point. I'm going to work out where on this line that might be. Now again, this cuts the corner of this box to about there, and it's not a straight line. It's not a straight line from there to there, but by putting the straight line in, it helps me see the shape. Did you see how I've roughly worked out that shape using the points and looking at that shape as it exists here? So I'm breaking this down into quite a simple task. I'll be back in a moment when I've done a little bit more to show you the next step. Right guys, I've drawn a tail in. It's not exactly the same as the original. Notice, I'm the head of art at Manchester Grammar School and I have done it slightly differently, so I think you're allowed to as well. Now, the thing I'm finding a bit tricky is all these ridges. So what I'm doing is I'm counting how many are in a section. So this is what I'm doing. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th one is on the line there, so I might put 5. But I know if the first one is about there, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th one's on the line. So see how I've used a system? It kind of undulates, it kind of goes downwards between those points. I'm just going to do that. And at this point, they're running almost flat. They're running almost in line with the grid. So as they go up, I'm just putting a slight arc to them. See how I'm just changing the angle? I'm raising it from the flat line to a slight angle. If it's not exactly the same, remember, we're not worrying too much about this. No one is going to be comparing the two in real life. They're going to look at your drawing and be impressed. So I'm going to count again. I'm going to ignore that one. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 is on the line. So it's 1, 2, that's 2 because it's on that line there. That's good. 3, maybe a bit lower. 4, 5, and 6 is on the line. When it comes to the line, see now it's going downwards a bit. It's getting straighter at that one. I'm going straighter on those ones. Now on these ones, they begin to curve lower. I'll worry about them afterwards. So I'm going to move into my next parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. A bit faster now, aren't I? 1, 2, 3, 4. And these are going 1, 2, 3, 4. At this point, I have to start thinking about that shape again. See how it's kind of bumping up, going down. Sometimes if you draw over a line, see what I'm doing on there? It helps you understand it. So that's how I'm going to now construct this detail. Remember, it's all about working out, so give it a go. I'm building up. I'm going to do a zoom right in now and look at the eye, see what the structure is like. It's like essentially like a teeny little circle with a darker bit, like a pupil in the middle. It's got some little radiating lines when you see it. So I'm now going to look at what I've got over here. So far I've just got a little circle. So I'm going to put the centre bit in. Hopefully you saw those little radiating lines. It's tricky for me to keep my camera in focus. Don't want it to look too cartoony. I'm beginning to build it up. It's got actually some concentric lines around that centre point. A concentric line describes the same centre point in the centre of the circle and everything in the same distance, like parallel from the centre circle. So I've drawn in an eye that's not dissimilar, but again, nobody is looking at the two and comparing. So at this point, you could consider doing some of the shading, or you could consider doing some texture. Now I'm going to do some shading. So as we're focusing on the eye, I'm going to keep the camera so you can see both elements. I'm going to look where it's darkest, and I'm going to say it's darker just behind the eye here. This is where I'm doing my pressing hard. It's got two sort of areas there above it that's slightly darker, but they kind of fade out. You see what I'm doing? There's a darker ridge in there. I've started to draw it. So I'm pressing harder. Oh, it's got a nice shape to that one. I'm going to put that in. I like that shape. I'm going to work in the edge a little bit and blend it in so it's not a heavy outline. So I'm adding shading. Now, if you prefer texture, you can do that. So where there's a darker area, you can build it up with little marks. See how I'm doing dashes? I imagine a seahorse has got a texture to it. If I was drawing a dog or a cat, I might have longer marks suggesting fur. In this case, I'm thinking about teeny little marks like scales. See how I'm building up textures into it. And my pencil is not the sharpest, and yours might not be either. So see how I'm working those little marks in. Now, you are learning. Hopefully you are having a bit of fun today. This is not serious. We are not giving you a grade and assessing you. We're just teaching you something that might be useful to you now or in the future. Now, lots of artists use these techniques to draw, to just draw and get things accurate. If you were doing a mural, a painting on the side of a building, and you wonder how an artist makes a picture so enormous, quite often they have gridded up their source image, which may be their drawing or a photograph or whatever they're going to do. And they grid it up, they grid up the wall of the building, and they do exactly what you're doing here. But they do it on a larger scale. So you're doing a grid that is 1:1. Theirs obviously will be 1 to a lot larger, much bigger section. But the principle is exactly the same. So I'm just going to keep working into it, taking my time. If you like doing it, you may take it home and finish it off at home. But you could take any picture of anything. It could be a picture of a Pokemon, it could be a picture of a friend, a member of your family, your pet, anything you have a photograph on that you can draw a grid over. You can try this technique. Right, you can see now the close-up of the detail that I've put into there, the range of marks and textures, the shading. There's still some of this working out detail along the edge. I'm not too bothered about that, but I could take a rubber and just tidy up around it a little bit. Essentially, you've been learning today about drawing and gridding, so hopefully you'll be able to use that again in the future. Thank you, Mrs. Davidson, for providing our seahorse image today. Good luck, boys.